And welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avanties, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, Zerotio.
What is up, gang? Man, we got a lot to talk about this week. We kind of teased last week that we would be getting the new mini set based off of a leak, and it looks like that not only that came through, but a lot of other stuff.
Yeah,
But before we get to that, how's your week been?
it was good. I am now somewhere in the mid 60s on the rewards track. I forgot to check before the show, but I know I'm in the 60s on the reward track now. So I have right at about almost 6,000 gold going into the next expansion.
Nice,
I'm hyped
nice.
about that because I'll be able to buy. I won't. I probably won't have to buy both bundles this time. I'll be able to buy the big bundle and then use gold to buy packs. So and
Yeah,
hopefully get most of the set.
I think that's the way I'm going to go too, because I'm sitting. I can't remember where I am sitting on the rewards track, but I remember hitting 121.
Nice.
So I know I'm at least 121.
Okay.
Um, I am sitting around 3,000 gold, but that's because I spent 2,000. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a
In a
little
minute.
bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I've also I ran a couple new duels. Went
Okay.
like 0-3, but I haven't
Okay.
ran.
I haven't
Well,
done any duels in a couple of weeks, but I've been hitting battlegrounds pretty hard this
well,
week.
we'll talk about it in the news section. But if you want to get into duels, now's the time to pop back into it and check it out because there's a lot of fresh content in
Yeah,
there. But other
new
than that,
new there's new uh treasures and stuff, right?
yeah, they finally filled it out. But again, we'll get to that. My week, however, man, this meta, I don't know if it's because I'm actually sitting in a decent spot on Legend. I'm not like high Legend, but I've been bouncing between 2 and 3,000, seeing a lot of people, well, like the likes of Kibler and some other top pro players on the ladder. I got a couple salty ad requests. I got a couple good ad requests. One guy was like, he added me, and I guess I totally missed it for like 5 games, and I added him, and I was like, GG. He was like, GG. I don't even remember what you were playing. And I told him, he was like, oh, yeah. I wanted to tell you, you're brave for playing that at this, high in Legend. And I was like, yeah, I create content and we play all kinds of crazy decks. I was playing Dexter's Envoy Quest Warlock.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun. Again, when I play my tried and true Paladin, I tend to climb ranks, but when I switch over to try other decks, I kind of drop. So if I wanted to focus, like if I ever wanted to get back into esports, which may be something I want to do, I
Uh-huh.
might have to start really dedicating my time to specific rotation of 2 or 3 decks, and maybe do some of my deck testing in casual. I normally don't do that, but if I want to take this serious, we'll have to see. My THL match happened. I went 1-3 again against Electric Sheep City. He's a really good player, good guy in the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and I'm just not doing good this season. Uh, there may be a lot of factors with that, and the meta is very fluid right now, so
Uh-huh.
that makes it hard to predict. Uh, and also it makes it hard to be unpredictable in a 6 set meta. So I'm hoping I can lock up the season, at least finish at 500. I don't think there's a way we can make playoffs, but I am just enjoying the game. When I'm not focusing on competing in THL, I really like playing right now,
Yeah.
which is good in a 6 set meta when we have a new set coming in March or April. I'll give you my theories on that later. But yeah, that's where I'm at in my week. Let's get into news.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as we talked about last week, patch 19.4 is now live. And
Well, as we talked about last week, we didn't know there was going to be a patch.
yeah, there was a leak from WindowsCentral.com that we talked about last week that this could happen, and it did. On January the 21st, we got the new Darkmoon Races Mini-Set, which we're going to talk about in depth a little later. We also got some new heroes and minions for Battlegrounds, and a mid-season update for Duels, and an arena rotation. So, I mean, it was a big patch.
And news about some upcoming content in February. So let's get right into what the patch notes here. It starts out with Battlegrounds updates. They added 2 new heroes.
Yes.
We have Ticketus with the passive hero power prize wall. Every 4 turns, discover a Darkmoon prize. And I haven't had a chance I haven't played any Battlegrounds because I was focusing on standard ladder.
Right.
Have you seen this at all? I know you.
I have not seen Ticketus yet. I've not seen him as a choice for myself. I don't remember if I played against him, but I don't remember seeing Ticketus as a choice for myself yet this week. But I'm really interested in seeing how this hero power works in Battlegrounds.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've seen prizes because they introduced the prizes the last patch. So this is going to be. I'm kind of interested to see how long this stays in. I know right now they did the Silas Darkmoon, and now Ticketus is kind of in this rotation with Darkmoon Faire. When a new set comes out, do they change the theme and these heroes come out? Or I'm kind of curious the longevity of these heroes. So you might want to get in and try to play them now if you're big into Battlegrounds.
Yeah, and then the other hero is Greybow, who is, was just introduced not too long ago as a Druid legendary. He's now making his way into the Battlegrounds, and he also has a passive hero power called Sprouted Out, and it's give +1/+2 and taunt to minions you summon during combat. So
this is unique.
This is very unique, and
because we haven't really seen anything that happens during. We've seen some that happen at the start of combat.
Yeah,
but I don't think we've seen a hero power that actually impacts the board during combat.
Yeah, no, not that I can remember. So I actually did see Greybow. I played a Battleground with him. And let me tell you, he is absolutely phenomenal. And
really? How did he play?
So basically, anytime a minion gets summoned in combat, it gets +1/+2 in taunt. So I took things like the mech egg that sprouts the 8/8.
Ooh, 8/8 taunt.
Or
9/10
taunt.
Yeah.
I got a golden Savannah high main. So each of the hyenas that pop out are now 3/4 taunts. And let me tell you, I got a Khadgar early. So every time a minion would die, it would double up and give the buffs. And then later in the game, I got a Mithrax, which gets buffed based on the different types of minions you have. So, and then at tier 6, I got, what's her name? She just got nerfed from a 7/7 to a 4/4. Alystra. I got an Alystra. Ooh. And so when she respawns after her reborn goes off, she gets taunt and buffed.
Wow.
So
and has the divine shield.
And if you have Khadgar out, there's 2 of her. So
I wonder if her nerf, how hard they nerfed her, impacted the anticipation of Greybow.
Let me tell you, I started building this and kind of went menagerie build with it. So I had beasts, I had mechs, I had a dragon, and then I had Mithrax because he gets the buff for each individual type. And And I started out kind of slow, but as soon as I got Khadgar, I just started outlasting my opponents. Like I would spawn more minions than they could kill, and even when they had much bigger boards than me, the buffs and the taunts just kept them at bay, and I ended up making it all the way back to second place
Oh,
and
wow.
finishing in second place in this run with this deck. And I ended up losing to a really well built, all poisonous Murloc team.
I
So,
mean, you almost can't beat it
yeah,
nowadays whenever that is an option in the battlegrounds. So that's awesome. I was going to ask you if you made top four, but obviously you
yeah,
made top two, so
top
that's
two.
really good. So if you want to play with Greybow and Ticketus, it is going to be available now if you have the battlegrounds perks.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the battlegrounds perks, they will be officially released on February the 4th.
Yes.
Along with the two new heroes, we got two new minions. We have a tier 3 demon, Soul Devourer, who's a 3/3 with Battlecry. Choose a friendly demon, remove it, and gain its stats and 3 gold. And the golden version is a 6/6. Choose a friendly demon, remove it, and gain double its stats and 6 gold. So when you have the Wrathweaver, sometimes the problem is you have to cycle out a lot of those demons to make room for more demons so you can get the Wrathweaver bigger. This one eats those demons and gives you full value for them for 3 gold. I
Yeah.
haven't played with this in a demon comp yet. Again, I didn't focus on Battlegrounds. I probably will this week. That seems strong.
Yeah, I
And
haven't
then
I haven't played a demon comp yet either, but it could be really strong because demons are the ones that can get really beefy, late
they
game. You
can.
you can have, unlike other tribes, demons can get up to 200-300 health easy.
Yeah. The biggest drawback is you can't get things like poisonous or divine shield or lots of death rattles that don't inherently come on the minions. That's kind of the trade-off for
Right,
demons. They're
right.
big, but they don't have a lot of variety or flexibility. Speaking of big demons, Ring Matron, which we recognize from the standard set, is a tier 4 demon, 6/4 in stats with taunt and Death Rattle summon 2/3/2 imps. And then the golden version is a 12/8 that summons 2/6/4 imps. This goes right in line with Greybow,
Oh
believe it or
yeah,
not.
yeah. This would be fantastic with Greybow, especially if you can get her gold, because then those 6/4s are going to become 7/6s with taunt. Oh man.
Now, to make room for the demons in this patch, they are rotating Floating Watcher out of the minion pool, which it's kind of anti-synergistic sometimes with what you really want to do. A lot of times you want to kind of burn up to Mal'Ganis, and then you can't take damage, and Floating Watcher doesn't get any bigger. So I think it's a good choice for them to rotate out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So,
And
all
then the
right.
next thing in the patch notes is the Darkmoon Races Mini-Set, which we'll be doing a review at the end of the episode this week. No play portion this week, but just to talk about it, it's going to be their first mini-set, Darkmoon Races. Now, when I heard this leaked before, I'll be honest, I did not even think races as in like horse races. I was thinking like goblins
Elves and
and
goblins and
elves.
dwarves. Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of races? Darkmoon doesn't have unique races, but it has 35 unique cards, 4 legendaries, 1 epic, 14 rares, 16 commons for a total of 66 cards
Yeah.
when you count the
Double up.
duplicates.
Yeah.
Um, and they're going to have a lot of mechanic. They have a lot of mechanics. We talked about this to match up with Year of the Phoenix. So we're seeing Spell Burst, we're seeing Dormant, we're seeing a lot of those mechanics. So the collectible Darkmoon Races mini set cards can be found in the Madness of Darkmoon Faire card packs, and the entire set is available for purchase from the in-game shop or the web shop for $14.99 or 2,000 gold.
Yes. So for those of you
This
that are free to
is
play, you can get this with gold.
we talked about this last week when we heard this is a leak and we didn't this wasn't confirmed yet. 2,000 gold for 66 cards
It's a
and
steal.
guaranteed 4 legendaries. That's amazing because you can equate that to 20 packs and you're not guaranteed 4 legendaries in 20 packs.
That's very true. You're guaranteed like one.
So I know some people are taking the route of saving their gold for the next set. I think you're
That's
one of
me.
them.
Yep.
And purchasing this for $14.99. I am. I went to 2,000 gold because something that's not in the show notes or not in this patch notes that I found after the patch is if you look in the portraits, there are 3 new portraits. I think it's 3 for the 3 that you can get in what they call the 3 Kingdoms bundles.
Yes.
And it's been pretty much released or kind of unofficially announced that the Kingdom bundle is going to be an event for the Chinese New Year coming in February. So I want to save my money for that because those. Have you seen those portraits?
Yes, they're gorgeous.
They're beautiful, and there's an Uther one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really we'll talk more in detail about that when they officially announce it. But if you want to check it out, you can go into your portraits tab in client after you've patched Hearthstone, and they will be in there. There's also a Duels update. They added they basically filled out the roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
whole bunch of new hero powers and treasures.
Every class now has 3 hero powers, and every class now has 6 total treasures. They do unlock from collecting Darkmoon Faire cards, but I have a full set of the Darkmoon Faire, and I bought the $2,000 gold bundle, and I have access to everything.
Yeah.
So if you do have the full collection, you should have access to everything.
I am definitely going to be playing some Duels this week.
I played some, and I'm not good at Duels, and I didn't look up any decks. I just threw stuff together just to play it quickly on my iPhone, because I got a new iPhone, so I can actually play Hearthstone while I'm laying in bed or sitting on the toilet, or either one. Like we say, if your opponent's roping, they might be wiping. But we're not going to go into too depth about the Duels update, other than it is with the ratings will reset with the 19.4 patch, so your ratings are gonna reset back to 0, and new achievements will be available for you to complete, so you can do those.
Yeah.
They did say there's a known issue where countdown timer at the bottom of the Duel start screen is incorrect. Duels ratings will reset with the 19.4 patch on January 21st, which it just passed. So that's kind of a dev comment they want to know. And then the arena rotation, if you're into arena, the new sets will be Darkmoon Races Mini-Set along with Madness of Darkmoon Faire, Skullmutt's Academy, Ashes of Outland, the Demon Hunter Initiate Set, the Boomsday Project, Journey to Ngoro, One Night in Karazhan, Basic and Classic. So that's
a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. There's a lot of smaller pools though, so I mean that's a lot of sets, but the Darkmoon Races mini sets a small pool cards, the Initiate sets a small pool cards, One Night in Karazhan's small pool cards, so maybe it fills itself out. And then there's multiple bug fixes, a lot of wild bug fixes. And then lastly,
go ahead.
Lastly is coming February the 2nd, Book of Heroes Anduin. So we kind of had this key art kind of teased, and it's Anduin in cloak and dagger, basically dressed up like an SI7 agent. And if you know any of Anduin's kind of backstory, he did study a stint with the SI7 agents before he decided to follow the light and become a priest.
Yeah.
It seems like this story is going to go a little bit more in depth to that, and I'm excited for this one. I'm not a huge priest player, but I love when they get into the lore and go into more in depth than the actual World of Warcraft lore goes into.
Yeah.
They did that a little bit with Garrosh. They did a lot with Uther. Uh, I'm really excited to see the way they're going, and I'm liking these Book of Heroes. Also, did you notice that they've been changing some of the voice lines for some of the past uh,
No.
portraits that came out? The
No, I haven't.
Headless Horseman Uther has all new voice lines. It kind of snuck
Nice.
in. They didn't announce it, but I think it was Regis Kilbin did a video and he was testing them, and all of the voice lines rhyme.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
amazing. You should
Yeah.
check it out.
So
But
there's one other thing I want to talk about as far as fixes and improvements go, because you said there were a lot of updates
yes,
for Wild. Yesterday, no, 2 days ago, XR tweeted out that there is a change coming for the Tiller Hysteria OTK combo in Wild, and they hope to
yes.
have it out sometime this coming week.
I was gonna ask you about that to see if you've seen that. Regis Kilbin made a video, or I don't know if he made a video or if it was on a stream, but he decided to play the OTK deck,
Yeah.
and first game got it off, I think, on turn 7.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that hard to get off because you have you have two copies of every piece of the combo in the deck.
And the biggest problem is not the combo.
No.
The biggest problem is that because there's a lot of contingency with it. If there's not enough health on the board, you might not OTK your opponent. But I think Regis got his opponent to like -31, and the animations wouldn't stop. And I don't think at that point you're allowed to concede in the middle of the animation.
Yeah.
So the opponent probably had to just sit through that entire because once he was dead, it's like he's dead, he's dead, he's dead.
Yeah.
Just let
Yeah.
it die. I think, like I said, it finally went like to -31 from, and I think the opponent was at like 20 some health or something. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, I think
But
just from what XR has said, it sounds like the change may be coming to the tiller. He says, "I hope this farmer has enjoyed his time in the sun while it lasted."
yeah, which was like never. I think I played him in like a token druid list
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
early damage for very short stint. I played him in some zoo, very short stint. He just wasn't ever a good card. Another thing was if you waited until your rope was almost done before you started your attack, if your opponent had ice block, because you're in wild, so they can have ice block, it would pop their ice block, but it took so much of the animation time that would skip their entire next turn.
Yeah. Okay.
So then you could just attack them to the face for one the next turn, and you'd win the game,
Yeah.
which is not fun if it's stealing your opponent's ability to react to it. So the only counter was ice block, and that didn't even work.
Right. So, all right. Well, that pretty much covers the patch notes.
Mm-hmm.
We did get another big announcement this week,
Huge.
and that
So
is the 2021 Hearthstone Masters qualifiers.
So leading up to this announcement, which was on the 22nd, Friday, all week, Bloodyface, a friend of the show, Luna, she was posting on Twitter the tagging Hearthstone esports 2021 esports announcement today, and then the next day would be like today question mark and then today then finally on Friday it looks like yeah, that's the 22nd. Yeah, Friday we got the first look at Hearthstone Masters in 2021. This is big. So there's a lot of changes going to the new Masters system. And this isn't just the Masters Tour, but it includes the Masters Tour and qualifying for the Masters Tour. To the point that it's enticing me to fire up the competitive juices again and maybe enter some of these qualifiers. Which I didn't think I'd be able to say again.
Okay.
So
So why
you
don't
want to
you
get
take
into it?
us? Yeah, why don't you take us through some of these big changes?
So the Masters qualifiers, the primary point of entry in a Masters program for most of our players, we have been looking at ways to not only expand the qualifier system, but to better reward high level consistency. So this is the part that was really hit in the community because you had players like Dead Draw that were competitive, doing well every time, but he wasn't just taking that top spot in the tournament, and he kept falling short of getting into Grandmasters. And a lot of players and a lot of pro players are saying that Dead Draw is one of the most consistent Masters Tour players and should be rewarded for that. And they feel he's robbed by not getting in multiple attempts. So the first big change that they're making is they're returning to 120 individual qualifier events this season, which when I first read this, I was like, ugh, that means you have to grind even more. However, they're lowering the top number of top 8 finishes required from 5, which I think originally was like 8 and then 6 and then 5, and now it's down to 4.
Yep.
So they realize that when players make it in the top 4, most make it into the
when they make it into the top 8
the
at
top
least
8
4 times. Yeah.
They usually make it a 5th time if they have time to play. And the one thing that was holding some of them back is the ones they saw making top 8 4 times were only entering like maybe 4 or 5 qualifiers and maybe only missed one. So if they had time to
it's
play
also
more,
important,
they
but it's also important to note that the way these are run, even if these players who are grinding these do get into 4 and they have time for a 5th, they may not get into it because they fill up so fast.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. So this is going to open up for those consistent qualifiers. These are people that normally don't even get into the Masters Tour. So I'm excited to see that because there's a lot of THL alums and THL players that do well in these qualifiers. They just don't have time to do so many of them. Then the top 32 at each Masters Tour who do not already have an invite to the next event will receive an invite to the following Masters Tour. And they're retroactively doing this. So the last 2, I think it's Madrid and Montreal, the top 32 will both get invited to this next one, which we'll talk about as we go on here. And then so they have a breakdown here of Masters Tour qualification paths and invites and Grandmasters and so forth. We're not going to go into all those numbers, but the total invites is going to be 400.
Yes.
Which is, I think before was like 230 something.
I think it was 256, wasn't it?
256 maybe, something. I might be thinking about numbers after people decide not to show up. So this is a huge, because they're able to do it online and they're not going to venues, time speeds up a little bit there. There's a lot less time that you have to incorporate for venue breaks and things like that. With more overall events, more players earning invites from top 8 placements, and more players being rewarded for high-level performance, we will expand the total pool of highly competitive Hearthstone players at each Masters Tour to 400. And the Masters qualifiers are now open, so you can enter those now. The Masters Tour is basically, they said, because of the ongoing global pandemic, they'll be holding 6 Masters Tours in 2021. They're all going to be online. Mm-hmm. Each will have a $250,000 prize pool divided among the top 200 players based on final standing. So before, just for qualifying for a Masters Tour, you would get like $800, and a lot of that was to cover your cost to get out there.
Right.
Well, now that you could just be in your underwear at home, you don't need that $800. And what this does is a lot of players were literally, when they made this change to online but didn't change the prize pool structure, they were entering, hitting check-in, and then leaving, just bowing out of the tournament.
Right.
And that's not good. That's not fun for an organizer. That's not fun for another player who round one has to get faced against somebody who drops out in one round. So their tiebreakers are crap.
Yeah.
You get no. I've been in some community tournaments where I match up against somebody, and then the next round, whether it's real life stuff or stuff, they have to say, "Hey, I can't continue playing." Well, now my tiebreakers are crap, so I have to completely win out. If I lose one, I'm in the bottom of the tiebreaker pool, and so this will help that out a lot. So they're changing the format for 2021, and I'm loving this. So they said we're taking the locations from the 2021 Masters Tour back to Hearthstone's roots. So hop on the Deep Run tram to battle against 400 players of Masters Tours themed all across Azeroth, beginning with Masters Tour Ironforge, March 12th through 14th. And they have Ironforge in March, and then in April, well, the end of April into May, it's Ogrimmar, and then we have Dalaran in June. August is Silvermoon. November is Undercity, and October is Stormwind. So
yep.
I like this. I like that they've taken this whole online approach and they've just kind of re-engineered it to thematically match up with the game setting.
I do want to say I am very upset Thunder Bluff got snuffed on a hosting this year. I thought Thunder Bluff deserved the right to host an event. So I'm protesting for Thunder Bluff.
What?
Thunder Bluff doesn't get to host a Masters Tour.
Thunder Bluff is the trash can of Kalamazoo.
Oh my gosh. Look, Eastern Kingdoms gets 4 tournaments. How is that fair to the rest of Azeroth?
So the only major export out of Kalimdor is beef.
Oh.
So you like that? You like where I spun that?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So here are some of the ways you can snag invites to Masters Tour Ironforge. Win one of 120 online Masters qualifiers between January 28th and February 28th. So you can register these now. They start this week. You can go in there and get on those on Battle5. The link is in the show notes, and the link to this article is in the show notes, and the link to Battle5 is in that article. You can finish with at least a 7-2 record at Masters Tour Montreal or Madrid. So if you were in Montreal or Madrid and you got at least a 7-2 record, you will qualify. You place within the top 8 of the Masters qualifier for Masters Tour Ironforge 4 times. So if you can get top 8 4 times between January 28th and February 28th, which is a month, you'll qualify. Placed top 32 legend on the standard ladder in January. They kind of teased this earlier via a tweet to go ahead and start grinding. I think it was like in the second week. A lot of people complained about that, but it is a decent amount of time to push it. And then, of course, be a Hearthstone Grandmaster, and you're automatically invited.
Right.
Tice, I was watching his stream, and he actually read this. This came live while he was streaming, and he read it out live, and he's like, well, this is good. I might actually compete in Masters Tours, because he wasn't competing in Masters Tours because he was already a Grandmaster. Yeah. And the revenue loss from taking the travel time and leaving and all that kind of stuff just didn't warrant him entering the tournament unless he literally took top 4.
Right.
He talked about that on the stream before. He's like, I have to make top 4 in any of these tournaments to warrant the cost and
what
loss
he's
of
losing
revenue
from streaming from home.
Yeah. Now, obviously, he can't stream while he's doing the tournament, but he could stream the right up to entering the tournament, and he can stream after the tournament. So he doesn't have any travel time to deal with and hotel costs, all that stuff. So that makes me happy because I'm going to be able to see Bloody Faces and the Language Hackers and the Tices compete in Masters Tours, and we want to see that. We want that competitive integrity. It's like, sure, the Grandmasters are invited, but it doesn't make sense for them to enter because it costs so much.
Right.
But now it doesn't because it's all online.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that change. And then there is one more change. Well, first off, we are also excited to announce that we are partnering up with ESL on the operations and broadcast for Hearthstone Esports the next 2 years. So we've talked about on this show that there are lots of good organizations, ESL, Seat Story, DreamHack, and DreamHack announced a few months ago that they're partnering up with ESL.
Yes.
For their events. And now there are DreamHacks scheduled for this year. Atlanta's in November, I know that. I don't know if there'll be any qualifying tournaments at those. They haven't announced that stuff yet. But if ESL and DreamHack are partnering up, then it makes sense that we might see some live events when live events can happen again for qualifiers. But we'll just have to see for that. It might be that they get points for those, and you would say, hey, what would points matter? They don't do points anymore. And I think I've talked on this show multiple times that we need to bring the point system back, that counting
money
just
wins,
isn't a balanced system. Well, they've heard that, obviously, and 2021 Masters Tour points. So points per Swiss win. If you have 9 wins, 8 wins, or 7 wins, you get 9, 8, or 7 points. 0 to 6, you get 0 points. So what this is promoting is if you get into a point where you're not going to make 7 wins, you go ahead and exit the tournament, and that speeds up those large 400-person tournament pools.
Right.
So that's good. Bonus points for top 8. First place gets 15, second place gets 12, third through fourth gets 8, 5 through 8th get 4 points. And then those are points. So invites to 2021 season 2 will be based on the top point earners from each region from Masters Tour, Asia Pacific, Montreal, Madrid, Ironforge, Orgrimmar, and Dalaran. You can follow along with the top 25 for each region with the new Road to Grandmasters page on the Hearthstone Esports website. So us as viewers can see who is vying for those Grandmaster slots.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. So you're going to be able to get points, and the points will count towards getting into Grandmasters. Now, Grandmasters is going to return for 2021 for 2 more intense seasons. So they're going to have 2 seasons like normal. We are still working on finalizing improvements, and we'll share details soon.
Yeah.
So they haven't announced any changes to Grandmasters, but they have announced that they will be making changes to Grandmasters. So I like this. I like that they're using the point system that they had in HCT. As it's kind of a hybrid system. You don't get points to get into the Masters Tour. You have to still enter qualifiers. But once you're in the Masters Tour, you can earn points to get into Grandmasters. And to me, players that do grind these tournaments and make top 8s and top 4s regularly, like we saw with Dead Draw, should get enough points to get into Grandmasters. Now, there isn't a point cutoff for Grandmasters. It's just most points. And that's going to be fair. So you do get 15 points for getting first place, but it's much different. Like 15 to 4, it's 9 points. It's a lot, but it's not like the prize money you got difference from 5th through 8th to 1. That was huge.
Yeah.
So now, mind you, you will also, if you get points in the Swiss rounds, you'll also get points for your top 8 if you make it in the top 8. So you'll double dip those points. So again, top 8s are important in Masters Tour.
Yeah. All right. So we'll have a link to that post on our website if you want to reread what we just talked about or dive a little deeper into the numbers. So
it's a lot of information.
This week's Tavern Brawl is a repeat when clones attack. Xeric's cloning technology is out of control. Choose a class, get a random deck, every minion you play will generate a 1/1 clone. So this is a one and done for me.
So turn 1, I dumped out 3 minions, filling my board up to 6. My opponent played 1 minion. I traded and played another 2 minions, filling my board up, and he conceded.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I literally just drew nothing but 1/1s, and I had the coin. 1 drops, and I had the coin.
Nice.
And well, I say 1 drops. I played the 1 mana 2/1 Murloc that buffs a Murloc in your hand. Which of course gave me 2 2/1s. And then I coined out another. I think it was the jar. The 1 mana 1/1 that has a death rattle give you a 1 drop in your hand.
Okay.
And then I played my 0 cost Tiny Fin.
Yeah.
Which was now a 2/2. And gave me another 1/1.
Right.
So yeah, I had the nuts, and he conceded on turn 2, and I was like, oh, I'm done.
There you go. So, all right. Well, that brings us to this week's deck of the week. Oh, but we're not going to play a deck this week. We are going to kick it straight over, and we are going to take a look at the new Darkmoon Races Mini-Set. So
races as in like car races and horse races.
So, all right. So this set, as we talked about, brought us 35. Is that right? 35 and 66 total with with
35 unique
duplicates.
cards.
Yeah, 35 unique cards, including 10 dual class cards, and that's where we're going to start. Is with the dual class cards. So first up, we have a Demon Hunter minion, the Fellfire Deadeye. It's a 2 mana 2/3. Your hero power costs 1 less while he is on the board. So this makes the Demon Hunter hero power free, and the Hunter hero power only costs 1. And it's a 2 mana 2/3. That's just good stats.
Yeah, I just think it's too. Maybe in this current meta where we have 6 sets, I just think there's better cards to, especially in Demon Hunter. And in Hunter, you're using tour guides. Now, obviously, with rotation, tour guides not leaving, so that won't free up the slot in Hunter. But we know there's going to be a big shakeup with Demon Hunter at rotation. So maybe this is a card that sees play when the new set comes out in March or April.
Okay.
The reason I say April, I know a lot of people are saying March, but the 2,000 gold bundle to get all these cards is available for purchase until April the 11th.
Okay.
Is what it says when you look at the purchase. So I don't see why they would, if the new set's coming out in March, why you would still be able to buy this after rotation.
Wow, that would make this 6 set meta out for 5 months.
Yes, which is the longest we've had.
Yeah,
because the last set came out. Now that's not to say that we won't get the new set in March, and they're just allowing this purchase of this bundle on into that set.
Right.
But based on those numbers, that's a long time until next set rotation.
Yeah.
Based on that, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Fellfire Deadeye until the next set comes out.
Okay. Next up, we have a Demon Hunter Druid spell, Resizing Pouch. It's a 1 mana, discover a card with cost equal to your remaining mana crystals.
So you're discovering a card from the ether, or just any card within your class or neutral. So obviously the sky's the limit based on the mana cost. And if you can nature studies on turn 9, and then on turn 10 play this for 0. The
Yeah.
10 mana pool is so small, you're likely going to get, if you're in Druid, Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah.
Which is the only way I've seen this card played so far. I haven't
Okay.
seen it put in a deck. An opponent played it on me. It wasn't put in a deck. It was discovered, and then he found Survival of the Fittest off of it. I don't think that the mana pools in a 6-set meta allow you to kind of control what you find off this, especially in Hunter, maybe in Druid and some of the mana slots, trying to find ramp specifically. Again, this is another one that might see its shine in a 4-set meta when the next set comes out and you have less cards in the pool.
Okay.
But I'm not seeing it right now. This is a for the future card, in my opinion.
Okay. Next up, we have a Druid Shaman spell called Guidance. It's a 1-mana rare spell. Look at 2 spells, add 1 to your hand, or overload 1, get both.
So the wording is kind of confusing on this, and when we got to see this being played by a lot of streamers and seeing my opponents play it, when you play this, you still get the normal discover animation of 3 cards. So you'll have your first 2 cards will be 2 different spells, and the third one will be says both overload
get
1.
both. Yeah.
So you do get to see. A lot of people thought you would get it would be 2 discovers and then you decide if you want to keep both, but no, you basically you see 2 spells and you get the choice of picking the best of the 2 spells. If you want both, you can overload for 1.
Yeah.
I have seen this played in Shaman against me to pretty good results. It was a spell damage Shaman that loaded up spell damage minions on the board, and they were literally trying to find more burn. There are a lot of aggressive Shamans right now. Totem Shaman's back in the cycle again. I've seen that played against me to good results. So I think if you're playing an aggressive Shaman at 1 mana, this is a good card.
Yeah. Next up, we have another. It's a Shaman Mage minion, the Imprisoned Phoenix. Now, it is a 2-mana, 2/3 elemental, dormant for 2 turns, spell damage +2. So, I like the fact that this has spell damage on a dormant minion because you're guaranteed to get the benefits of the spell damage before your opponent can kill it.
So the biggest problem with spell damage minions is you have to invest the mana into them and have mana remaining to spend on the spells. But if you have your deck built in a way that on 4 mana you can dump a lot of 1 cost or 2 cost burn spells, maybe even using Lightning Bloom to get more mana to then spend more on, say, a Lava Burst or something. Playing this out on 2 so that on your 4 mana turn, you're getting that automatic spell damage +2 because your opponent cannot deal with it on your turn, and it will not be available for them to deal with on their turn. So this is a very strong card. It's been played against me. I know Cyclone Mage is using it to very good results. I think No Hands Gamer made a list that involves Imprisoned Phoenix. Imprisoned Phoenix is just a good card. And for a common slot card, I expect to see this played a lot.
And one of our listeners, Anjan-san, is a big fan of Elemental Mage anyway.
Yes.
So,
oh, yeah.
All right. Next up,
is frothing at the mouth over this card.
Yeah. Next up, we have a Mage Rogue Legendary minion, Key Warden Ivory. 5 mana, 4 attack, 5 health, Battle Cry. Discover a dual class spell from any class. Spell Burst. Get another copy.
So this is strong, but at 5 mana, it's hard to kind of rig this. You kind of have to discover a low-cost spell and use that spell. Now, remember, it says dual-class spell, so you won't get Barov off this. You won't get, or you won't get Lord Baroff. You won't get Jandis. You won't get any of the dual-class minions off of this. So that kind of limits the pool a little bit more. Getting things like the polymorph missiles. I can't remember the name of that one that transforms. Devolving missiles.
Yeah, devolving missiles.
Devolving missiles get off this. One thing I saw a lot of streamers that were playing this day one make the mistake of is they discovered the spell, they picked one they can cast, they played it, and then they were surprised that they got the exact same copy of the spell again.
I mean, it says get another copy. I don't know why you'd
For
be
some
surprised.
reason, a lot of people were thinking they would get a second discover where they get to pick another one.
Those would be people who can't read.
True, but I saw a lot of people make that mistake. A lot of smart people. So I personally haven't played with this card, so I didn't make that mistake. But I can see where the mistake can happen. I do think there is a deck for it, probably in Rogue, because that's who kind of uses that kind of random element a little more than Mage.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of the lists that started with her ended up taking her out, and I haven't seen any decks dedicated to using this legendary in a productive way.
Okay.
A lot of the Mana Cyclone lists had her in it, and then they took her out and put Jandis in there because they'd rather have the minion pressure. So that's maybe if we see dual class again next rotation next year, maybe she pops back into the meta. We don't know what the next rotation year of is going to hold for us yet.
Yeah. So speaking of dual class spells, we have a new Rogue Warrior dual class spell called Nitro Boost Poison. It's a 1-mana common. Give a minion +2 attack. If you corrupt it, it also gives your weapon +2 attack.
So this is like a cheaper, a little less effective Tinker Sharpshooter Oil, but you're getting a lot more value for your mana, where before it was 4 mana for a total of 6 extra damage, 3 to weapon, 3 to a minion. This is 1 mana for 4 damage. Yes, you have to corrupt it, but you play a 2-cost card.
Yeah, it's not impossible to corrupt a 1 mana card. So
I think it might be the easiest card to corrupt. I don't remember a 1. I think there's a 2-cost corrupt minion, and it can be corrupted multiple times. Yes. But I don't know of a 1-cost. I have had this played against me to very good effect. Rogue right now is a very good class. Yeah. And they're playing very weapon heavy and bursty, using a lot of stealth minions. I've even seen people throw in bluegill. So on 2, you dagger up, and on 3, you bluegill, which corrupts the Nitro Boost Poison. Then you play Nitro Boost Poison to have a 3 attack weapon and a 4/1 rushing or charging Murloc.
Wow.
Bluegill Warrior.
Yep.
And the only reason they're not using Boar, in my opinion, is because Boar doesn't corrupt this. It's silly. It really is silly that cards like that get played because of this. This is probably one of the strongest cards in the set. I wouldn't say the strongest, but I'm a little biased. We'll talk about that later. But it is a very strong card.
All right. Next up, we have another. Actually, most of these dual class cards, other than 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 10, the other 6 are all dual class spells. So next up, we have a Warrior Paladin spell called Barricade. It's a 4-mana common. Summon a 2/4 guard with taunt. If it's your only minion, summon another one.
So I played Big Warrior this week in THL. It was the only deck, if I'm not mistaken, that gave me a win. And this plays Barricade because most of your minions are very high costed because you're trying to cheat them out in one way or another.
Yeah.
So with like Dimensional Ripper and things like that. So for 4 mana, a spell that generates 2 taunts to just stall you longer
Right.
against aggro, this card is amazing.
Okay.
I like it a lot. Again, it's kind of in a niche deck. Big Warriors playing it. I think there's another taunt style warrior that's playing it because a lot of their taunts are higher costed.
Uh-huh.
But if you want to avoid putting low cost minions into your deck, and so you can save your deck for higher cost minions, Dual Paladin is playing this for the same reason. They don't want to put low cost minions, and this kind of stalls against aggro.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have a Paladin Priest rare spell called Rally. It's 4 mana. Resurrect a friendly 1 cost, 2 cost, and 3 cost minion.
I wanted this card to be good. I tried it on day 1. It felt like you were doing too much work. Again, I wasn't playing it in aggressive list, which maybe in an aggressive list, this is kind of like a call to arms.
Yeah.
Because if you throw your early 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost minions out and they deal with them for 4 mana, you can bring all of them back and they have to deal with them again.
Uh-huh.
So I've kind of been staying in the mid range to control lanes, and so far Rally hasn't been good there. Now it has been good whenever I brought back a Murgur Murgurgle again, because I've already shuffled a Murgurgle Prime into my deck, so now I get a second Murgur Murgurgle. That's great. Getting a Shielded Minibot, that's great. Getting the Goody 2 shields is amazing off this. The biggest problem is the 1 cost slot, because a lot of times you're using your hero power and you're just going to get a Silverhand Recruit.
Okay.
But honestly, if it was 4 mana to bring back a 2 and 3 cost minion and a 1/1, that to me is still good. The jury's still out on this card. I want to make an aggressive list. I was working on like a Murloc list, but there just aren't really good Murlocs in the Paladin meta right now.
Yeah.
That we've had really good Murlocs, and now we have Murgur Murgurgle, and that's it.
Right.
Even Sir Finley isn't great because he's just a 2/3 if he's brought back, and he only has an effect in a Highlander deck, and you're not going to play a Highlander Murloc deck. So Finley doesn't go in that deck. So maybe when the rotation happens and maybe we see some more Murloc support, a aggressive Murloc builds can come. There is the Silverhand Paladin build that people are toying with. There's not a lot of tools for it yet, but again, you're running in the situation of you're bringing back statted minions that have battle cries.
Yeah.
And you're bringing back Silverhand Recruits. You're not bringing back any Death Rattles or Divine Shields or things like that. So Rally, the jury's still out on Rally. It might just need more support next set.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have another rare dual class spell, Hysteria. This is a Priest Warlock. It's 3 mana. Choose a minion. It attacks random minions until it dies. So this is part of that Tiller combo that is getting some sort of treatment this week. But basically, this you just choose a minion and it keeps attacking stuff until it dies.
This card is amazing. I've played it in Priest. I've played it in Warlock. You just put this in there to deal with the board. So if your opponent's playing aggressive and they're putting out a lot of 1/1s, 2/2s, 2/3s, and then they happen to play something with a little more body, you could clear the entire board with this.
Yeah.
It also deals with Doomsayers, because you put it on Doomsayer and it's just going to keep attacking until it dies. If your opponent decides to Doomsayer to deal with, like I played against a mage and they Frost Nova Doomsayered me, so I just targeted Doomsayer with the Hysteria. Doomsayer attacked into my minions, died, didn't do any damage to my minions because it has no attack, and that thwarted that counterplay. So
yeah,
Hysteria is very well. There was another priest card, like something madness, that all the minions attacked each other.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
This kind of reminds me of that card, but it's less cost, and I think in some cases more effective. It also lets you, uh, for 3 mana, get a death rattle you just played to attack to clear other minions and activate their death rattle so they don't get silenced or polymorph transformed or anything like that. Because Revolve is still in the meta, and shamans aren't putting them in there to kind of tech against envoys and Warlock,
Yeah.
which we'll get to envoy here shortly.
Okay. Last up in the dual class, we have a Warlock Demon Hunter minion. It's a rare Lucky Soul Hoarder. It's a 3-mana, 3/4 battle cry. Shuffle 2 soul fragments into your deck. Corrupt it. You also draw a card.
So if this didn't have the corrupt, it would go into every soul fragment deck. The fact that it has a corrupt makes it that much better, because late game you can play this corrupted, and it might give you this. It might draw you the soul fragment you need to heal to stay out of lethal range.
Yeah.
A lot of people are putting this into. I've seen a couple people put this into more stall based warlocks or quest warlock, and they're not even running a bunch of soul fragment cards. This is like one of their only soul fragment cards. This one and then the one that does 3 damage. They're not doing any of the synergy cards with it. So the spell does 3 damage. It gives you soul fragments. They're not doing anything that eats up soul fragments.
Right.
So it's all about, you're drawing so much. You want to draw into those soul fragments just to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And a 3/4 body is great.
Yep. All right, let's move into the class specific. So we're going to start with Demon Hunter.
Each class gets 2, and interesting enough, in most sets this year, Demon Hunter has been weighted heavily. They didn't do that for the mini set.
That's correct. So first up, Demon Hunter has a common spell called Illidari Studies. It's 1 mana. Discover an outcast card. Your next one costs 1 less.
Now, the wording changes if your opponent plays this. It changes to discover a Skull of Gul'dan. Play it this turn. I'm telling you, every time I've seen this played against me, I haven't played with this card. They get a Skull of Gul'dan every single time.
Yeah, because when you discover the card, it's going to go on the far right. It's automatically available for outcasts, and it costs 1 less.
So far, Illidari Studies has done work against me. Just for being on the receiving end, I think it's a good card. I like the Studies cards as a whole. I am kind of worried and curious about what they do with Demon Hunter come rotation, and if the pool is cut down to a manageable size, there'll be less outcast cards, meaning the pool will be more refined and perfect for this card. So this might be something that is broken and gets you exactly what you want almost every time come rotation.
Yeah. So next up we have the Fell Saber. It is a demon minion, 4 mana, 5/6, can only attack if your hero attacked this turn, which we know is not an issue for Demon Hunters.
It can also attack if your opponent plays Hysteria on it. I have only played against this card once so far. My opponent played the Fell Saber in a very aggressive Demon Hunter to have a 4 mana 5/6. I immediately Hysteria'd it to kill it off and clear his entire board, and he conceded.
Okay.
So I don't think this is I think for 4 mana and this drawback, it needs a bigger stat line. I think it needs to be like a 6/7.
Wow.
At least.
Okay.
I don't think it's good enough, and I don't think it will see play.
Okay. Next up, we have the Druid class, and they have a common dragon minion called the Dreaming Drake. It's a 3 mana 3/4 with taunt. If you corrupt it, it gains +2/+2.
I want this to be good because a 3 mana 5/6 is good. And I did have this played against me in a token based aggressive strategy druid, and they beat me, and it was very good. But in a corrupt deck, there's too many good corrupts to be brought back with your Shars that you don't want to accidentally get this instead of, say, the Circus Clowns.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go in that deck. It doesn't. It's a dragon, so it can be brought back by N'Zoth. But it's even if it is corrupted and comes back as a 5/6 with taunt, they're much better dragons to be brought back. Even dragons with taunt with N'Zoth. So in my opinion, it doesn't go in that deck. I think once we start seeing some rotation of cards from Year of the Dragons, which had some good notable dragons, especially in Druid, maybe we'll see this at rotation to kind of fill that dragon slot as a taunt. But right now, there's too many taunted dragons in the Year of the Dragon to want to put that in the deck.
Okay. And then we have a rare Druid spell, Arbor Up. It's 5 mana, summon 2/2 treants, give your minions +2/+1. So do you see this going in a token based?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I played a few token druids, and this was played against me multiple times. Very hard to deal with because when you do the math up, if you play it on an empty board, it's 5 mana for 2/4/3 treants. That's if you have nothing on the board.
Right.
That's 5 mana for 8/6 in stats is great, especially across two bodies they have to deal with separately. So the fact that that you can have a couple tokens on the board as well and play this if they haven't cleared it, then they're like, oh, I'll clear whatever they play out next turn. They can't get them that big. This can really hurt you, and it did. I think I only beat that token druid once with a control priest I was playing that I was doing some testing with.
Yeah.
Other than that, I had a hard time dealing with those 4/3s hitting the board.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Hunter class, and their common spell is called Bola Shot. It's a 2 mana, deal 1 damage to a minion, and 2 damage to its neighbors.
So there was like a bite that did this, but it was 2 damage and then 1 damage to its neighbors.
Yeah,
so
this is kind of reversed.
Yeah. The only effective thing I've seen with this on the ladder so far, and this is only a couple days of testing, is with Professor Putricide in a Highlander list. But if you're forced to put a bad legendary in a deck to make a card good, that makes the card bad, right? Because Professor Putricide is, and if you don't know what Professor Putricide does, I don't blame you because it's a bad card. I think I remember the mana cost or the stats to be honest, but he makes I think he's like 4 or 5 mana.
Makes all your spells poisonous.
All your spells poisonous. And so if you're playing against an aggressive deck, he doesn't do anything with this card because this card's probably going to clear them.
Yeah.
If you're playing against a bigger minion deck, they're probably only going to have 1 out, maybe 2. So you could do that same effect with a single target spell. So I don't think this is good. I would rather play Darkmoon Rabbit instead of putting those 2 cards in my deck.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Hunter rare minion Saddlemaster. He's a 3 mana 3/4. After you play a beast, add a random beast to your hand. So this is almost like the Whirl Kick that we played last week, but for beasts.
So I have had I'm glad you said that because I've had a lot of people say this is like Whirl Kickmaster for Hunter. No, it's not. Okay, Whirl Kickmaster is a very low-costed card that's going to get you other low-costed cards. This is a mid-costed card that's going to get you probably high-costed cards off this. You're not discovering a beast. You're getting a random beast. Now, because it's random, it can come from any class, which kind of raises it, but it also lowers it because you can't curate the pool to kind of target it. I would rather just say after you play a beast, add a random beast to your hand of the same cost, because then maybe you're curating that a little bit to get a specific pool of beasts.
Okay.
But it's too slow. It's got base stats, 3 mana, 3/4. That's just base stats, and you have this card doesn't really generate you a lot until late game, so you can't play him early unless he sticks the board, and he likely is not going to stick the board. I just don't see him. Definitely in a 6-set meta, there's too many beasts.
Okay.
Maybe in a 4-set meta, there's less beasts, but at the same time, it's a random beast, so it's not like Discover. I don't think he's good. I think Hunter might have gotten the biggest shaft out of their specific class cards this set.
Okay. Next up, we have a rare mage minion, the Glacier Racer. It's a 1-mana 1/3 with Spell Burst. Deal 3 damage to all frozen enemies.
This is a good card, but I don't think it has its true potential.
Let's talk order of operations.
Yes.
If you play this on turn 7, followed by a blizzard, is the blizzard going to freeze the board first and then trigger the spell burst? Dealing 5 damage to everything?
The blizzard is going to freeze the board and do 2 damage. And then the spell burst is going to happen, doing an additional 3 damage to all enemies that are frozen. So if there's any that are still alive after the blizzard hits, they're going to take 3 more damage.
Okay. So this could be a 7-mana, 5 damage to the... Basically, it deals 1 more damage than Flame Strike, and it freezes whatever might survive.
True. The more economical way to do this is just Glacier Racer for 1, and then 3 mana for a Frost Nova. That's going to basically turn into a bigger blizzard.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's gonna freeze the board and do 3 damage to all the minions. Now, where a lot of people are wanting to test this is more in Frostbolt generations, where they Glacier Racer and play Frostbolt, and now your Frostbolt is doing a total of 6 damage, because it does to all frozen enemies.
Right.
So it
can do it to face, yeah.
It can do it to face. Now, you can Frost Nova, then play Glacier Racer, then Frostbolt the face.
Yeah.
Because the minions on the board are already frozen, it will do 3 damage to them and an additional 3 damage to face. So order of operations is very important with this card to maximize its output. And where a lot of people are seeing the best output is also doing damage to face. But right now in the meta, I think we only have one way to freeze face with a spell, and that's with Frostbolt. You can get minion attacks and whatnot to freeze face, but that's less controlled in one turn. So I think they're going to have to really be careful what kind of freezing effects they put out in the next set, because this card could break them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, next up we have a common mage spell called Conjure Mana Biscuit. It's 2 mana. Add a biscuit to your hand that refreshes 2 mana crystals.
So the biscuit is a 0 mana spell that refreshes 2 mana crystals. It doesn't give you 2 mana crystals.
Right.
So you can't go, like if you're on 5 mana, you can't generate yourself up to 7 mana. You can spend 2 mana and then refresh 2 of those. So you can use a hero power, then play the biscuit, and now you're back up to 5 mana. This is really good. The fact that it's a spell is the important part, is because it is another spell on the stack for something like Mana Cyclone.
Yeah.
And the mana that you spend, the mana that your biscuit gives you is the same amount of mana you need to play Cyclone. So before, you used to have to be very careful when you're casting all your spells using Sorcerer's Apprentice and combination of spells and maybe Evocation, that you left 2 mana open to play your Mana Cyclone. Well, now you don't have to. You can just make sure to play Conjure Mana Biscuit, or have the Mana Biscuit in your hand as the last spell you play, which will generate the 2 mana needed to play the Mana Cyclone. So Mana Cyclones come back into fruition. No Hands Gamer had a great list using Mana Cyclone with Conjure Mana Biscuit.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this card is the art. It is what happened right before AFK got her nickname. Have you seen AFK in
in Battlegrounds?
In the Battlegrounds, the art is, I would say, timeline wise, after this, because the background scenery is very similar, and she's sitting eating the biscuit with the Mana Saber asleep next to her.
Okay.
So go back and look at AFK's art in Battlegrounds and look at this card. You'll see the story unfolding. It's really neat.
All right. Next up, we have Paladin, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
start with their rare minion, the Imprisoned Celestial. It's a 3 mana, 4/5, dormant for 2 turns. Spell burst, give your minions Divine Shield.
So I played this in Pure Paladin along with Rally, and I got some good results out of it, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Again, I wasn't playing a more tempo or aggressive list that wants to flood the board every turn and get those minions built up, and then maybe bring them back with Rally. And I mean, this would be great to play this minion, and then have other minions on the board that are contesting and dying and being traded into, and then he comes live on, say, turn 5, and you can maybe play a 1 mana minion and then Rally, which will bring back those 3 minions, a 1 cost, 2 cost, and a 3 cost, and it can also bring back an Imprisoned Celestial. It'll be dormant if it does, but when you play that Rally, the Imprisoned Celestial Spellburst will give them all Divine Shield. Now, right now in the build I have, I'm bringing back Murgur McGurgle and Goody 2 shields.
Right.
So the Divine Shield isn't as helpful from the Celestial.
Right, because they already have
Divine Shield. So
yeah.
I think this card needs optimized building, and I just need time with it. It's something I plan on doing over the next 2 weeks. Once I've finished optimizing my Pure Paladin, which we'll talk about in the next card, and I've had great results with.
Okay, and then we have a Paladin weapon. This is the first weapon we've seen in this mini set. The Libra of Judgment. So it's a 7 mana, 5/3 weapon, and if you corrupt it, it gains lifesteal.
So Regis Kilvin called this a better Arcanite Reaper.
Wow.
And I don't disagree with him. Now, a lot of people are saying 7 mana for a 5/3 weapon. Even if it has lifesteal, that's still pricey. This card is not 7 mana.
It's a Libram.
It is a Libram, so it can be reduced by your Libram cards. Now, one big complaint a lot of people had with this card was, sure, it gets reduced, but how often in Pure Libram Paladin are you actually getting this corrupted? Because if it's, say, 6 mana, if you've gotten it to 6 mana and you play the Truth Seeker, it does not corrupt it. Yeah, Truth Seeker reduces it to 4, but it's at the time it was played. So it is a little tricky on getting it corrupted when you first glance at it. But one thing I noticed in play is that Libram of Hope will always corrupt this, because Libram of Hope starting mana cost is 9.
Yeah. So it'll
which is
always be
2 more
higher.
than
Yeah.
so, and they're going to be reduced at the same pace. So if this is a 4-mana weapon, your Libra of Hope is 6 mana. So
Right.
you can play Libra of Hope to heal your face, and to put a taunt in the way to give you a little bit of time, and then you play the Libra of Judgment, and it is a 30 damage swing out of one weapon.
Yeah.
The reason it's 30 damage is because it does a total of 15 damage,
But
because
then
it's 5
and then
attack
it
with
heals you 15. Yeah.
5 attack with 3 durability. Then it has 15 points of potential lifesteal. Now, where else did we see this kind of swing that was very helpful in sustaining a game for a long term? And that's in Uther the Ebon Blade, the hero card.
Yeah.
Uther the Ebon Blade was 9 mana, and he gave you this weapon. It was a 5, I think it was a 5/3.
Yeah.
And it had lifesteal. So and Uther the Ebon Blade, if you're pressuring your paladin opponent and he plays Uther the Ebon Blade, and all of a sudden can start swinging back by trading into minions and gaining that health back that he spent in trading, then, or swinging to face and basically doing 5 damage and gaining 5 health, then you had trouble beating them. And this is just the weapon part of Uther the Ebon Blade, and sometimes it's usually 4 or 5 mana. And I have just put this card into my pure Libram. I tried a few different builds, it didn't do great. Finally, I decided to just cut a little bit of the fat and put Libram of Justice in here. I went down to 1 Zealot because I don't need the True Silver Champions. I did cut down to 0 Zealots at one point, but I decided I wanted 1 Zealot still because it's still a good card. That's the one that gives you the 4/2 True Silver Champion.
Yeah. So.
And then I have one of the 7/7 that gives you the gives you 5 Paladin cards, and then I put 2 of the Libram of Justices in there, and I've been hovering right around a 72% win rate.
Nice.
And it's
maybe we play that deck on the show next week.
Maybe we'll see. Right now, Paladin it's probably got the least amount of changes for the most amount of impact. You're just basically adding 1 card, 2 if you count 2 copies of it, and all of a sudden the win rate goes even further, because what pure Libram Paladin needed was just a little bit, not a lot, a little bit more sustain.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Priest. We have the rare Priest minion. It's called the Light Steed. It's a 4 mana 3/6 elemental. Your healing effects also give affected minions +2 health.
So if you read this, your healing effects also give affected minions. This is not restricted to healed minions. So if you play Circle of Healing and you have minions on the board at max health that don't get healed, they're still affected. So they will still get the 2 health from this. Wicked Good and Mad at Arms have a review of this mini set over at offcurve.com. You should definitely check them out. And Wicked Good is probably one of the biggest experts I know on Priest, and he is currently trying to figure out a deck for this Light Steed, and I don't think he's figured it out yet. But if you want to keep track on that progress, check out Wicked Good at Off Curve. He will know before we do, most likely.
All right. Then we have a Priest legendary, Dark Inquisitor Zanesh. It's a 5 mana 3/5 battle cry. Reduce the cost of all corrupt cards in your hand and deck by 2.
So Regis Killen made a deck that's basically has this card and just about every corrupt card you can put in the deck in Priest, even the 2 mana one that corrupts indefinitely. It wasn't a great deck because I think it's too much on the corrupt side, and it needs to be refined. However, whenever I was able to play Zanesh and turn those corrupt cards into some of them 0 cost, it was pretty ridiculous how quickly I was able to corrupt cards and get them out.
Yeah.
I think once a refined version of a corrupt deck, the problem with corrupt, if you fill it too much with corrupt and you reduce all their costs by 2, then you have nothing to corrupt those cards. They just drop the cost down by 2. So
right.
you need a mixture of non-corrupt and corrupt cards in there to have things to corrupt your corrupt cards.
Right.
And once that deck is refined, I think it's going to be a powerhouse in Priest, because Priest right now does not have a very good playable deck.
All right. Next up, we have Rare Spell Shenanigans. 2 mana, Secret. When your opponent draws their second card in a turn, transform it into a banana.
So I have seen this in Hanar decks. I haven't seen it put in the deck. I've seen it discovered by Hanar, and it's been pretty disruptive. I don't think it's a very... Rogue needs good secrets, and I don't think this is a good secret. It is a unique secret with how it's played, and you kind of worry about, well, if I'm trying to draw for something, especially in a deck like, say, Quest Warlock, do I really want to turn that into a banana? What if I draw that powerful card I need and turn it into 0 cost, and now it's a banana? That would feel really bad. So
yeah,
this can be disruptive. Do I think it takes up a slot in the deck that could be better used to winning the game? Yes. So in that situation, it probably gets cut. But we'll see. Hopefully more rogue secrets. I want to see a true, not just Hanar, but a true secret rogue where you're actually putting a lot of rogue secrets in your deck, like you do with Mage and Hunter.
Well, this next card will be perfect for that. It's probably my favorite card of the mini set so far. I love this card. I love everything about it. The name, the art. It's called Spark Joy Cheat. You know, if those of you who have ever held something in your hand and said, "Does this spark joy? If not, throw it out." I love this card. It's a 3 mana 3/3 battle cry. If you're holding a secret, cast it and draw a card. So, yeah, it's a 3 mana 3/3 that plays a secret for free and draws you another card to replace it. I mean, that's just fantastic.
I mean, if you have a secret in hand, and it doesn't have to be a rogue secret, it can be a 3-cost mage secret that's been created by Hanar. Now, mind you, if you have multiple secrets in your hand, it will randomly pick a secret. It won't play them all. But if you're holding a secret in your hand that plays it, this basically turns into a 1 mana 3/3 draw card.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nutty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're playing that 2-cost rogue secret for free, essentially. So if you bake that into the cost, it makes this cost 1 mana, because 2 mana for the secret, and then you're drawing a card.
Yeah, this card's awesome.
In a world, I think if the next set puts more secrets into rogue, this card is an auto include.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next up we have Shaman, and Shaman has their rare spell is called Landslide. 2 mana, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. If you are overloaded, deal 1 damage again.
So I can't remember if it was Ixar or if it was Alec Dawson, but one of them mentioned, or maybe it's less, one of the devs mentioned on Twitter that this used to read, deal 1 damage to all enemies, do it again for each overloaded mana crystal. And it was super overpowered because it only hits enemy minions. So you basically, if you're completely overloaded and had 2 mana to spare, you could clear their entire board. I think this is nice and balanced. 2 mana for 2 damage to the whole board if you're overloaded is pretty good. Does an overload shaman exist so you can play this? I don't know. Will it exist? Probably. This tells me they're still leaning into overload as a mechanic when they're redesigning Shaman, which they said they're going to do for the next rotation, which makes me feel good because I like overload as a mechanic. It just needs a little bit more balancing.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have a common Shaman minion called the Mist Runner. It's a 5-mana 4/4 with a battle cry. Give a friendly minion +3/+3, and it's overload 1. I would have expected this to be a much higher overload because you're talking 7/7 in stats for 5.
For 6 if you count the overload.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of goes in line with their stat distribution for overload cards. Where I want to see this, and I haven't had time to test it yet, is in a quest shaman. Now there isn't much more time to play quest shaman because it rotates, but quest shaman, you use your hero power, and now you're giving a friendly minion +6/+6. And then maybe it's really, really good. I think there's a place for this in an aggressive minion based. The shaman, the problem is the aggressive minion based shaman right now is totems, and there's so much totem synergy that it muscles this card out, and there's no room to put in Mist Runner. Sure, you can buff a totem, but isn't there better things you can do with totems in that deck? And I think there is.
Yeah.
Again, I keep saying this. When we go down to a 4-set meta, maybe a lot of your totem synergies are still going to be there. Maybe there'll be room to put this in that totem shaman.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have a Warlock common spell called Backfire. 3 mana, draw 3 cards, deal 3 damage to your hero.
Yeah, 3 mana for 3 damage is 3 mana for draw 3 is pretty premium. That's really good.
That's pretty nutty, especially if you're playing this in like a zoo deck where you're emptying your hand quickly.
That's true. Also, in again, this kind of goes in the zoo deck. That dual class synergy with Priest, where when you have minions that get cheaper when you take damage on your turn.
Yeah.
So you're damaging yourself, reducing the cost of those giants, and then turning around and getting 3 more cards to then fill your hand up even faster. I mean, the hero power is 2 mana for 2 damage to your face, and you draw 1 card. So you're increasing the damage by 1, you're increasing the mana by 1, but you get 2 extra cards out of it. This is awesome.
Yeah. Next, and then we have the Warlock legendary Envoy Rustwix. It's a 5 mana, 5/4 demon, death rattle, shuffle 3 random prime legendary minions into your deck.
So when I'm not playing pure Paladin, I'm playing Envoy Quest Warlock, which is there's been a couple Envoy decks I've made, and they've both been Quest variants. And one was from Regis, and it was very memey. And the one I'm playing currently is from Dexter. It's taken a little bit of the meme out. Dexter's also very memey, but it's a little more refined. And I've got a positive win rate with it. I think I'm like 8-6 with it. So not a great positive win rate, but it's a positive win rate. And you end up getting upwards of 6 to 7 Rustwicks on die during the game. Because you're copying with philosophy, you're bringing them back out with the Warlock Prime card. They resummon these Rustwicks.
Yeah.
You also have the 5 mana minion that summon the 2 whelps that get death rattles from minions that die. A lot of times those are both Rustwixes. Then the Rustwixes might give you another Ebonlock Prime, I think he is, or I can't remember the Warlock's name.
Canthed.
The
Ebonlock, I believe.
Canthed Ebonlock you get one of those primes again, which gives you another Rustwick. So you can almost go endless. I mean, it's not, you can't always go endless, but you can almost go endless with it if the RNG is right for you. And what I love seeing is Ticketus decks, because they're all like, I'm going to Ticketus you. I'm like, okay, I'm going to shuffle like 6 more primes in my deck. Oh, I'm going to Ticketus you again. Okay, well, I'm going to shuffle like 6 more primes in my deck. So it counters that gameplay.
Yeah.
I have seen a couple lists that are running Envoys and Ticketus, which is really crazy. I don't think you need both. I think it goes a little bit too greedy, but this is a very fun card, and I think there's going to be a balance to this.
Okay.
I don't know what they would do to balance it. Maybe you shuffle less primes or change the prime pool. I'm not sure. But I think when we get into competitive play, if Envoy Rustwicks is played in Masters Tours or in qualifiers, I think you could take the fun out of the game for the opponents, and it'll be exciting to watch. But I can see where a balance change might come to this card eventually. So if you get one in golden, you might want to hang on to it.
All right. Next up, we have Warrior, and they have a new weapon. It's a common called the Spiked Wheel. 1 mana, 0/2, has +3 attack while your hero has armor. So it's a 3/2 for 1 as long as you have armor. The minute you lose your armor or you get your armor broken, it has no attack.
So I have not found anyone who likes this card. Everybody I've heard talk about this card either love this card or they hate this card. I'm still on the fence with this card because I understand in the one camp where they're like, it's 1 mana for a 0/2 weapon that, by the time you're getting armor, if you want to put this in an aggressive deck, you're not trying to generate lots of armor. And if you are generating armor, then I'd rather just put in the sword, the sword eater guy that gives you it's a taunt that gives you the fiery war axe equivalent stat weapon. But if you're going to put this in a slower deck, then what's a 3/2, 1 mana fiery war axe going to do for you? And then on the other hand, you have the players that love this card that say you're in a more control-y style deck, you're going to be generating armor, and this helps you shore up the early game better than having to put 2 or 3 different unique cards in your deck. You can just put 2 spiked wheels in your deck, and that gives you 4 swings to deal with early minion pressure from, say, Zoo Warlock or Demon Hunter or things like that. So both camps, in my opinion, are right. I tend to see the more aggressive style players don't like this card, and the more control style players do like this card. So maybe this is a control card. But truthfully, there are lots of early game removal you can put in your deck that's better than Spiked Wheel and less contingent, but it's more cards that allows you to have more room in your deck if you cut those cards for just 2 copies of Spiked Wheel. So
yeah,
I'm still on the fence as a control player, but I do lean towards a control camp that I like this card. Now, does that mean it's good? I don't think it's good now, but maybe later when we have less tools for early removal, we put Spiked Wheel in.
All right, next up we have a new common warrior minion. It's called Ironclad. It's a 3 mana, 2/4 mech. Battle cry: if your hero has armor, gain +2/+2. So again, very reliant on you having that armor.
So this card looks like it was pulled out of the recycle bin on somebody's desktop when they were designing Boomsday Project cards. That they were like, I can't think of a good card for this set. What do we have in our recycle? What do we have that we threw away that wasn't good enough for another set? Oh, Boomsday Project. Oh, we had a mech that wasn't as good as any of the mechs that we printed, so we decided to pass on it. Oh, let's just put it in this mini set. 3 mana for a 4/6 mech. Sure.
Yeah.
But in that deck where you're generating armor, do you really need a 4/6 mech? Does do you want to put this in an Azoth deck that's going to bring back a 2/4 mech? Because this isn't like Corrupt. It doesn't change the stats to 4/6. It just gives it +2/+2. So I don't want to put this in an Azoth deck where I could bring back a 3/6 taunt or a 4/5 taunt that gives me armor when it dies, or uh, I don't want to risk bringing back a 2/4 mech. So it's bad. And I don't see, even in a 4-set meta, when things rotate out, because a lot of the cards that rival it are in the Year of the Phoenix. So I don't even think it's going to be good in a 4-set meta. I don't think, unless they come out with like another Boomsday Project style set, another Goblins versus Gnomes set, which I don't think they're going to do this next year, I don't see mechs being dominant in Warrior. This is just a bad card.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Next up, we have the neutrals. So we have a rare neutral minion, the Armor Vendor. It's 1 mana, 1/3, battle cry, give 4 armor to each hero.
This is amazing. Better than Mistress of Mixtures. Just put it in your deck. It can go in aggressive decks. It can go in mid range deck and go in control decks. It's just a good card.
Okay. Next up, we have the Crab Rider. It's a 2 mana, 1/4 Murloc with Rush and Wind Fury.
I want this to be good, but there's not a good Murloc pool right now. Thus, this card's bad. Okay. It needs other Murlocs to buff it, to summon it, to do anything with it, to have synergy. And I hope the next set gives more Murloc synergies, because I love Murloc decks. But there have been some tests with this card and bringing it back with Rally and things like that. And so far, from all the tests I've seen through Twitter and through my various Discord groups, they've cut Crab Rider at some point and made the deck better.
Okay. Next up, we have a neutral epic minion, the Death Warden. This is a 3 mana, 2/5. Death rattles cannot trigger.
This is like Mindbreaker, the Versika card. Remember?
Yeah.
That they couldn't use their hero powers. That card didn't see play. It's a static effect with a minion on the board. This is a bad tech card.
Okay. Next up, we have a neutral legendary minion called Moonfang. He's a 5 mana, 6/3 beast. Can only take 1 damage at a time. So basically, you have to have 3 sources of damage to remove this if you're running into it.
So a lot of people were high on this card, and I was one of them when I first saw this card. I was like, wow, you find ways to buff this card. You can really sustain it. They're really going to have to take a lot to remove it. Well, first off, it's destroyed by spot removal.
Correct.
So something that just destroys a minion can still destroy this.
Yeah, deadly shot, it just removes it.
There's lots of things. And also, there's another card that was just printed that makes this a bad card to have on the board if you're wanting a board, like aggressive board flooded kind of scenario. I was playing against somebody who had this out and a bunch of small minions, and I just targeted this with Hysteria. It hit all of their own minions. Their own minions could only do 1 damage to it, so it cleared all of them and killed itself.
Yeah.
So because Hysteria, I think Hysteria is the counter card to Moonfang.
Gotcha.
I see a lot of people playing with this card, and I have played against it a lot, and I don't think I've lost to a deck that has played Moonfang on the board once yet.
Okay.
I do think there's something with this card, and that might break it later. It definitely limits design space when they start coming out with new sets. So keep this card on your radar. I wouldn't craft it. If I opened it though, I wouldn't dust it. So there might be something in this where it might be worth keeping a hole because another card might come out. We saw this with the Hadronox, where Hadronox wasn't good when it was printed, and then some more cards were printed later, and all of a sudden Hadronox was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then the very last card in this new mini set is Runaway Blackwing. It's a rare 9-mana 9/9 dragon. At the end of your turn, deal 9 damage to a random enemy minion. I think this would be great off of a Discover, but not in a deck.
I agreed with you when I first saw this card. But I disagree with you after playing with this card.
Okay.
Now the 9 damage can't go face, which is why
right.
a lot of people
it only targets an enemy minion.
It's a Ragnaros. It's a bigger Ragnaros that will only hit minions. Now it will only hit enemy minions. So if they have no minions, it won't hit anything. It won't hit friendly side or anything.
Right. Right.
Now, I grabbed a list somebody gave me for a big warrior, and I thought. And I saw 2 Runaway Blackwings in it. And I went, well, I'll try this list. But I know as soon as if I don't see the results that I want, I'm cutting the Blackwings for something.
Yes.
If not both of them, I'd cut one of them. I expected to go down to 1 Blackwing at least. When you pull 2 Blackwings off Dimensional Ripper and basically just destroy an 8/8 with Taunt Divine Shield, that one hits the Divine Shield, the other one clears a minion. It's great against Paladin. You do a little tap on the Divine Shield, and then you're black, because usually with Paladin they're playing 1 big minion with buffs on it, and Runaway Blackwing just eats it up for lunch. You can develop a minion and have removal for 1 big minion on their side. This card, I would have given it maybe a 2 on a star rating, and I'm giving it at least a 4 now. I don't think it's a 5.
Okay.
But it's a solid 4 in that big warrior deck, and I think big warrior is going to at least be towards the top of tier 2.
Okay.
I think Big Warrior is going to be one of the big surprises in the upcoming Masters Tours and the qualifiers. And I think we will see Big Warrior shine at Masters Tour Ironforge in, February?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or March? Or I can't remember which. I think we will see this card shine in Big Warrior. And to me, this is the most surprising card in the set. From seeing the cards to seeing them played, this is the biggest disparity on performance for me.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, guys. That's the Darkmoon Races Mini-Set. So,
if you see me on the ladder playing Warrior, know that I'm playing Big Warrior, and this card has 2 copies in the deck. Just be ready.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button below on YouTube if you've not done so already, and ring that little bell icon to get notifications when our new episodes go up. For more details about our patron-only Discord, head over to patreon.com/heropower. Until next week.
Don't forget to use your hero power.